I am dedicating this particular video to my brother Jim, who loves airplanes. And even though I'm the retired Air Force person, he loves airplanes more than I do. I ran into a guy at a visitor center in Pennsylvania. I asked his name. I think he said it was Speedy Bob. I think it's more of a call sign or nickname. 72 years old, riding a Harley Davidson. He was coming up from the Birmingham Museum in Birmingham, the Motorcycle Museum in Birmingham. One that it's on my bucket list I want to go to. And he said how fantastic it was. Well, we got talking about motorcycles and motorcycle museums, and we had a lot of similar things in common when it came to how we travel, what kind of roads we like. Well, I told him where I was going, and got to go to the National Museum of the United States Air Force. I said, oh, really? And I'll be honest, in my mind I'm thinking like, okay, you know, most military bases I was stationed at have an air park. They may have a little building. And I thought, when I heard about it a long time ago, I thought, oh, it's probably something just a little bit better than that. And he said, no, I really, really need to go. He said it's one of the best museums he's ever been to. You can easily do a full day. So let's check it out and see how good it is. And I'm going to dedicate this video to my brother because of his love of aircraft. Talk to you later. Hope you enjoy the trip. I had to, one of the air shows, I did 3 air shows there. 2 times I had to do security for Chuck Yeager. We had a small team that was doing security at the air show for him. My first one, however, I got stuck as a staff sergeant, and I was with Ernie Slatinsky. Ernie and I got stuck having to guard these 3 F-117s, as you see right here, these Nighthawks. While they were in use, they were also still in the test phase at Edwards Air Force Base at the time. And they had 2 staff sergeants guarding that aircraft. We had a rope, and so people come up to take pictures. We'd even allow them to take pictures with us. Many of them would want to take pictures with us, but they couldn't get past that rope. The F-4 Phantom, I was stationed at Clark Air Base, and that's where I'd follow under the tutelage of actually Soki Bobby Briggs and Kito Kimi Rukate. Also just a terrific assignment, and met some great people, still know them to this day. And the plane we had there was the F-4 Phantom. And just a little bit of trivia, Billy Joel actually came to do a performance for us during that time period. When I was there, there were a lot of MPA rebel hits. So I want to say during the time I was there, we had 14 or 16 Americans who were assassinated by MPA rebels. He came to do a concert for us at Clark Air Base, and then 2 nights later, I think he did one in Subic Bay. But in any case, he got an incentive flight on the F-4. Is the Trabant 601 Trans Deluxe, and it's why I tell people communism always fails. Compared to our cars at the time, actually compared to any car, it's worthless crap. Here it is. A good example how freedom and free markets produce better things that we can use than communism. Communism's kind of like Amway. It's only great for the person on the top. My first duty assignment in the United States Air Force was Beale Air Force Base, which is just outside of Yuba City, Marysville, California. And it had 2 of the best spy planes ever developed. One is the fastest plane, and that is right what's behind me here, the SR-71. What a lot of people don't know is that the SR-71 is a flexible plane, so the fuel, when it's landing, you would see it under the hangars. It will just fall right out of certain cracks there, because water is always going to go to the path of least resistance. And same with fuel. The watery part of the fuel will just come out. But they need to do that to make it expand, because when it goes in the sky, it would expand and tighten up and keep all that fuel in there. The other plane at that base I was stationed at was the U-2, and the U-2 spy plane is right above it. Now I'm on a flight simulator replica of the space shuttle. What's so interesting was at Edwards Air Force Base, I was also very, very fortunate, is that for a couple years I was on the space shuttle recovery team. Actually had a patch. I gave that patch to a guy named Samuel Pinsky. He's a big space shuttle person, so I'll make sure I send this video to him. And we weren't supposed to, but a crew member got us in to see it back. This would have been 1994 when it had landed at Edwards. One of the few times it landed there while I was there. I don't remember how many times it landed, but it landed there a few times. And so I got to go inside it and had to go through a long debriefing afterwards, but it was awesome. So it's just kind of neat to stand up here, and while this is more of a replica, as you can see, in a trainer cockpit, it's still kind of just really neat to see. Really, really cool. Okay, I was wondering when I was going to get to some sort of display about my previous career field, Air Police, aka Security Police, aka Security Forces. So I was a law enforcement specialist, Security Police, which became in 1997 Security Forces, and I finally found a display with my career field. So I'll show a picture here. I think I have maybe some of my other videos, I don't know for sure, but Security Forces, we wore a blue beret. also, what's interesting about this is that General Curtis LeMay was also one who pushed for judo training among Air Force members in Japan. And I'm a martial artist. It's karate, not judo. I've taken seminars here and there with judo people. He was a great general, and Strategic Air Command, the United States Air Force, and the United States should be proud he's served our country.